Time for us to change gears entirely. Time for sports. Simon Harding's here. Let's begin with some tennis because you've got a bit of a shock result for old Rafa Nadal.
Absolutely. It's all going down at the Acapulco Open in Mexico, Tom, where two-time champion Rafael Nadal was beaten by Australian maverick Nick Kyrgios. And it's not such a shocking result when you look up the history between the two players. In a bad-tempered encounter which prompted Nadal to say that Kyrgios disrespected him, the Australian celebrated wildly after the win and seemed to taunt the crowd as he was booed after the game. An ever controversial figure on the ATP Tour, Kyrgios seems to revel in these moments of adversity, a match which had started badly for the Australian, who trailed by a set before rallying brilliantly in the second. This backhand winner, which you're about to see, probably the point of the tournament so far, as Kyrgios pushed the boundaries of brilliance. His shot variety was also exceptional, as he didn't hesitate to come into the net to finish off the Spaniard. Kyrgios, who is Nadal's nemesis, having lost 3 out of 6 meetings to the Aussie, the 17 Grand Slam champion, who had his opportunities to win the match, squandering 3 match points before a backhand error gave the victory to Kyrgios. Let's hear from the winner.
For me this year, I've been struggling a lot, but to come to Acapulco again, one of my favourite tournaments of the year, and be able to put in a performance like that is pretty special against #1 seed. Clearly the crowd favourite. But the level of tennis I played today was just a good test for my body, but just the way I competed, I left it all out there, and very fortunate to get the win. Obviously, had a handful of match points, but it was massive, just massive confidence boost for me.
The Dubai Open is next, and Gael Monfils keeps going from strength to strength, the Frenchman who qualified for the semi-finals. Monfils took on Ricardas Berankis of Lithuania and strolled into a 1-set lead, 6-1 after just 25 minutes. Perhaps too easy in the first set, as Monfils became a little more complacent, and Berankis upped his game in the second, the underdog taking that set tiebreak to force a decider. Monfils was broken early, but immediately responded and took his opponent's serve 3 times in a row to complete a 6-1, 6-7, 6-2 victory. Well, the English Premier League is widely considered as the best championship in the world. Over the years, foreign and particularly European players have played a massive part in the fortunes of their clubs. Thierry Henry, Cristiano Ronaldo and currently Eden Hazard are names that spring to mind. But is Brexit about to change how the Premier League attracts foreign talent, and will it give the opportunity to English homegrown talent to flourish? Chris Moore has this report.
Training at Gateshead FC, a club in English football's 5th tier. Most of the squad are local, some failed to make the grade at Premiership neighbours Newcastle. And the feeling is that homegrown talent's losing out to overseas imports.
A club like Newcastle can go and bring players in from anywhere, so for local lads, it's tough, obviously.
The foreign players have done great for the Premier League itself and for football, but I know for a fact there's a lot of good British players that are just waiting for a chance.
On the other side of the River Tyne, this bookshop's a homage to all things Newcastle. Chris Waugh covers the club for the local paper. He says it's long relied on European players and that 6 of today's squad wouldn't be there if current EU rules changed.
Martin Dubravka, who's from Slovakia, Jose Perez, who Newcastle signed as a 21-year-old, he's Spanish, 2 other Spaniards.
With Brexit looming, the 2 biggest bodies in English football have differing views on what it should mean for the Premiership.
The Premier League would see Brexit as an opportunity to liberalise the whole of the transfer system, and basically then they could sign players on a similar basis to they do from the EU but all over the world. The FA are not necessarily 100% against that, but what the FA would like in return is that Newcastle and other Premier League teams would have to have a higher proportion of players who are so-called homegrown.
Fans too have their own preferred versions of the future.
We've been relegated twice over the last few seasons, so it'll be quite nice to see some young English players come through.
European players have been massively important. It's just going to be an absolute nightmare after Brexit.
Brexit's the idea of idiots, so if it would go away, it would be absolutely perfect. On the other hand, there's always a dream of having 11 Geordies playing for Newcastle. and that would be great.
In football, as in life, Brexit continues to prove divisive.
Well, I guess we'll see the first repercussions in about a month. But it is now officially less than 100 days to the 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup here in France. 99 to be very precise. And France marked the countdown with a series of events throughout the country. In Paris, outside Les Halles shopping centre, fans were invited to try and score goals against the tournament mascot, Eti. Present at the event was Vice President of the French Football Association, Brigitte Henriques, and former footballer Vikash Dorasso, who played in the 2006 World Cup and who oversaw the fun. France have big ambitions for the World Cup, and despite the activities across the country, the national team have been working hard to prepare the next two fixtures against Germany and Uruguay. French manager Corinne Diacre said this isn't a time to relax.
I'm not going to rotate my team. I have a World Cup to prepare for. I am going to give some players more game time. I can only pick 11 players, so yes, I will be giving opportunities, but I have to prepare my squads. They need to be competitive. We are playing Germany and also Uruguay, and it's not because they're ranked 74th in the world that we aren't going to take them seriously. On the contrary, we have clear objectives.
Really looking forward to watching the latest Women's World Cup, Tom, because it is going to be the first of its kind, potentially for establishing a new era of women's football.
Well, if I'm walking past Les Halles, I might try and score some goals with Eti, the mascot, outside that shopping centre. Thank you very much indeed, Simon Harding, with today's edition of Sport. That's it from me. I'll be back in a couple of minutes with the top stories. Don't go away.